using this number. So let me share the screen.
Okay.
And I don't need these. All right, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, and there, top says online classified connection.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is a web-based product, and let's see, allows people to, basically anyone to create an obit, and it's template driven. That's a good start, isn't it? Well, let's try something.
Well, your security works.
Yeah, it does. My brain doesn't because I logged into it earlier. Yeah, this one will work. Okay. All right. So basically here you can pick, we can do different things. We can do obituaries. We can do death notices, whatever categories you want to put in. We can also break it down to coming from a funeral home or done in-house, and I think the focus here is in-house. So
yes,
just pop in here. And we set up templates, and I think this is the template that, oddly, I'm using this particular site because this template is similar to the one you were looking at, Gary. This is what you wanted, the photo in the middle but straddling the columns.
right. Well, that's what we currently do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good looking, that's a nice looking obit. So essentially pick the template and then type in, and this form can be set up any way you want. I'm going to quickly go off and let's see, desktop.
Ken, I think you may have shown this to us before because this looks.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it should. I mean, it seems like, and at the time I know there was some interest as well. And it was a matter of getting the workflow. So we get the text in, pick a picture, or I could have downloaded one. And at this point I can update my preview. And this system, this is a test system, so it's pretty slow, usually. Takes about there. Okay, so there it builds it out. You notice over here we said use the funeral home logo. You wouldn't have to. We could have put images in like flags and all that good stuff. And if that's what you like, if that's good to go, then you would just go on to save and proceed.
And all the fonts can be whatever we want them to be?
Yeah, exactly. You design the template. It's like, we're not using InDesign, but it's similar to InDesign, so you would specify what the paragraph styles are, etc. And any different box can have a different format. So if you wanted, a couple of different, a head and a subhead, for instance, you could have two separate boxes, and each one of those would get the different type styles. Okay. And then here's the financials. This is the booking of it. They actually have obits go for multiple days if you want, but we just pick where it's going to go. It's going to price it out. Most importantly, you've got the depth, which is what, I think you guys, I don't know if people are running around and do they measure it after the fact and price it? I think they do in Lima. I remember correctly.
We're doing it multiple ways.
Yep, but I think in Lima, for instance, it's after the fact and they get billed after the fact.
Right.
So this way you've got everything here done, finished. Even if you didn't want to price it, you didn't want to have the choice made, at least you could get the depth count and associate a price If you do it this way, when we do save and proceed, we can either have a credit card. Now, I don't think, again, you may or may not want to do it this way, and you have a choice. If the customer is a funeral home and you're building it for a funeral home, they'll show up as an on-account customer, and this won't come up. It will just automatically be billed to their account.
How do you guys do it, Gary? Are you guys going through funeral homes, or how? Right now, how's it going?
Yeah, the majority of them go through funeral homes. We were talking to one of the editors the other day, and they do get some private party obits that come in, but they have to be prepaid and they have to prove the person's dead, so that we don't have to worry about anything legal down the road. But that's most everything comes in from a funeral home so far, from what I've heard. I'm putting together a survey for all our editors, and I'll know more specifics in a week or so.
So part of that challenge would be getting the funeral homes to switch over as well.
Well, no, the funeral home could still just email the text and the photo to the newsroom, and the newsroom could get a clerk to assemble it using the template. Because I think that, I know my recollection in Ohio, again, dates back 3 years, but at the time, when I mentioned this to some of the regional VPs, the funeral homes thought that they should get a big reduction for this because they're doing the work.
Right, and that's
I think the plan is for us. I'm sorry, Doug, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say how Texas is doing it. Memoriam's set it up with the funeral homes. The funeral homes actually go to memoriams.com. The family fills it out there. It's all handled through there, and then memoriams, after a certain number, they give like I don't want to say prizes, but they get something back to the funeral homes for using their services after a certain number. So I guess it sounds like it's set up different in Midwest.
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing it. They're not getting the funeral homes to do it. I mean, this system will work that way. I mean, we can tie in the funeral homes and give them a login and let them do the work. But I know that there was a lot of that was once tried prior to us putting in Falcon. I know that there was they had tried it with, it could have been with In Memoriam, I don't know, with AdPay.
Yeah.
And the results weren't at all promising.
The thing we're in the process of converting is moving it out of the newsroom and into the classified department. So they would still be entered by somebody on staff. All this would be done by somebody on staff. It would just be someone in a different department.
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of extra communication going on, because an editor has to estimate a size, talk to the sales manager, who talks to the clerk, who talks to somebody else who puts it in Falcon. So we're trying to cut out a bunch of that stuff.
I think this. I mean, you could still actually have a late obit taken in the newsroom because the process is so simple.
Right. Now, does this then spit out a PDF?
Spits out a PDF. So based on what publication it was booked into, we would spit PDFs into the appropriate folders for them to paginate.
Okay.
And it would also, they'd be booked into Falcon. So if you wanted to run a manifest and see what obits were booked into what publication, you would be able to do that as well. Yeah. So they could double check it and make sure that, they do get them all in.
Right. I'm sure they would want to do that. Yeah. What kind of cost is there? Is this part of Falcon already, or is this an add-on, or what?
This is an add-on. I mean, this is a whole different. This is a standalone module. We have it. I mean, we have some people using it who don't have Falcon even.
Okay.
It doesn't require Falcon, although it integrates. Obviously, it integrates perfectly with Falcon. So all the billing and booking gets automatically pushed in, but it's done. You're not going through the main client to schedule it. You're just going through this simple interface, because generally an obit's for one day.
So we would be paying for the module and the hosting of that module?
You'd just be paying a hosting charge for the module. It's a SaaS thing. I haven't worked out an exact price, but do you know, if you're doing a survey, Gary, do these obits generally end up in more than one publication, or is it generally just one publication?
I'd say the lion's share are single publication, but we have some papers that are close enough together that they do bounce stuff back and forth. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the exception, but I'll add that to my list of questions.
Yeah. If it's the exception, I would almost say we would just go around and build it a second time for the second publication. That might be easier than creating a whole way of selling to multiple publications at once in these things. I think if we want to keep it simple, if we make it, you can just pick which publication from your list of publications. We'll automatically pick up whatever the rate table is for that publication. It already exists. Price it, and they'd be able to tell the person right there on the phone how much it costs. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If it's a classified people, then they can, right there, they can build it, as you could see, really quickly, particularly if the text is emailed to them and the photo is emailed to them. They can have it put together while the person's on the phone and say that's going to be X.
But if it was in two papers, they'd have to build it twice and get two prices and add them together? Is that what you're saying?
They might have two different bills. Yeah, I'm not sure how if we could figure out a way to put it in two. I mean, the building of it. Have to think that through. I mean, if we were in regular Falcon, we might be able to just go into Falcon and add that publication. And so, yeah, if it's the classified people doing it, they would know how to do that. Uh-huh. They just call it up in Falcon, add the other publication. It would reprice, and they'd be able to do it that way. It's a little bit of a second step, but at least then they don't have to build it twice, and the customer gets one invoice, which is really the most important, to me, is almost the most important, that it's a single invoice to the customer.
Yeah.
From customer service. So yeah, it wouldn't be a stretch for the classified people to do that. If it was going to be done in the newsroom, we don't want them in order entry. We don't want them in the classified system.
Right.
Which is why they're not in it now and not booking them directly into the obit system.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason it's getting moved, is because it just makes more sense to have it done by the classified folks start to finish.
Mm-hmm. You can do that, and but you're not going to get you're not going to be able to straddle that photo in there. If you and you're not going to be able to put it in the right column. You would be able to if you have just a single column photo and it's at the beginning of the text there, then you could, and people do. We do have people doing obits directly in classified.
Really?
Can you have a different font and size, or does it have to be the standard classified font and size?
Yeah, that can be different font and size. I mean, you can create, again, they're just styles. You could create an obit style that's a different font and a different point size. And if you wanted to square them off like this, then you'd do it'd be some finagling in the classified in pagination, unless you flowed them individually. Do these get handed up to the newsroom? Who paginates the classifieds?
They do that in my department. I mean, we're kind of standing between a couple different departments here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But you're saying if we did it in the classified system, they would all have to be handled manually to square them off, to place the photo, to put on the funeral home logo.
No. The photo and the logo would all be part of the flow. They'd flow like a regular liner. They'd flow like a legal.
Okay.
So
You'd just kind of be more limited.
They'd flow sequentially.
You'd be more limited in the styles as far as laying out in the middle of columns, stuff like that, right? Or double column, or.
Yeah, I mean, you can. Let's see.
I think Rick, we're looking for something quick and cheap, obviously, but that still will work for the customer and take the burden off of editorial. So yeah.
So Howard, I mean, some people. I mean, we have people who paginate their obits sequentially. You know, like a series of legals.
I've seen that. I don't think we're at this point. We're not planning to change the format, but that could change depending on what people think.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, if you want it to look like a classified, you can do it in classified. And the photo can be there. Yeah, again, if you wanted that, you could have you're looking at the one here, Bob Smith. You could have Bob Smith in large type in the classified, but it would be over one column. It wouldn't be straddling two columns like that.
Got it.
And so, I mean, just think of how a legal flows.
Right.
And you can have an image at the beginning and an image at the end. That's fine. That all works within the current classified system. And we could set up styles. And Gastonia, North Carolina, does them lengthways. Sequentially. Joe, do you have any samples of theirs? Pages? Joe?
He's on mute.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah. Hey. I don't know if I have a sample on my machine without going through the actual test system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, how would I display them here?
Oh, not to display here, just if you could grab one of their old pages the way they do it, and just so you guys have a sample of a place that actually does it that way and what it looks like.
Yeah, I think I have PDFs here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, send it along, and I'll send them along to Gary and Doug.
All right. Yeah, I can locate and email them.
So that'll give you a sense of how they look if they're just done directly in the classified system.
Okay.
And then this would be, PDFs, and you just, do the jigsaw puzzle and juggle them around until they look as nice as they can on the page and they balance out as well as they can on the page, which is what I assume you're doing now.
Are you guys using show ads and place ads, Gary, or just show ads?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
They're neither. Just in a few places are they using place ads or show ads. Bowling Green is. Right now.
The rest of it is Scott Harden, I guess, right?
It's the old Scott.
Yeah.
Scott display of classifieds.
Okay.
So let me get some numbers together for you, just so that you've got something to compare and see. It's not terribly expensive. I know money is tight, but I do think if you can build them this way, your end product is going to be better. I mean, I think this is a more attractive classified than basically flowing him head to toe with the next one.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't, just so you know, we don't run them in the bind classifieds anyway, and we're not planning to. They anchor usually page 2 of all our publications. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would assume even if you ran them head to toe, you could square that off. You would be flowing them onto a different page.
Right.
And you are using ROP column measure as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so it'd be a different column measure. You'd flow the obits separately. You could square that section off like you do now at the end of a classified section. So, you know, it would be half a page of obits if that's what it were, if that's what it ended up being. But if it was just in straight classified, basically they just run sequentially, you know, top to bottom, left to right.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, that's not the direction we're going at this point.
Right. I mean, there aren't a lot of places that do it that way.
Yeah.
But Gastonia is one, and just so that, you know, if you want something to be able to show Rick, this is what it would look like just straight out of classified, and I think it's true for most classified systems. That's how it would be.
Okay.
So you PDF or two and some numbers.
That would be
And
great.
if you can find out cross-selling, that would be helpful.
Okay.
I mean, we can set up packages. I mean, if there were, like, when we were, and see if we go back here, and then I'll let you guys go. Here are the available packages. I mean, if you had certain papers that ran together a lot, you could just have them as a package here. I mean, we can put together combos, and then there'd be like a drop down here for all the other pubs where they could just pick a pub, pick that package, it would price out.
Uh-huh.
And then any combos. I mean, we can, I just think with the number of papers you have, there could be a lot of combinations.
Yeah, it'd probably better. I mean, the only one that comes to mind is Sydney and Miami Valley on a regular basis because they're right next to each other. There's a lot of communities that kind of blend across those borders, but there's no telling. You know, if somebody was born in Lima, died in Greenville, you know, you just don't know when that's going to happen. So.
Yeah. So we could. Yeah, I hate to build the whole system on the basis of a few rare exceptions.
Right.
But you also want to make sure that you're not mucking up customer service either.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'll get that stuff to you. Any more questions? Give me a holler or any other thoughts that you have. And I'll think about it. I'm trying to think in classified, in the regular classified, if there would be a way for us to build these into 2 columns. And nothing's jumping to mind right at the moment, to be honest with you. But you wouldn't, you wouldn't want them to be 2 columns wide with one line, you know, not columns, but have the text go all the way across the 2 columns, would you?
We do that for the free notices that are about 1 inch long, but we always have at least 2 legs of type for the actual paid obits.
Yeah, which is definitely more attractive. But if you did do 2 columns wide, but 1 column of text, that could be, and the photo could be notched into the first half of the into effectively 1 column. We could do that in classified, and then it would kind of look like they were squared off.
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I can't say I've ever seen them like that. I'm just
That's a
throwing
possibility.
out
Yeah.
possibilities, and I think that's probably less attractive than having them run sequentially. All right. Any other questions or thoughts?
I'm good.
All right.
All right. Well, that's what we have to offer.
Okay. Appreciate it, Ken.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.
See you, Doug.